Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. If you are new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, if you would do that for me. So today, obviously we got the car back in the shop and we are going to do a little bit of maintenance work on the car and try to get it ready for the race that we got in a couple weeks. So let's get into what we're going to do today. So, like I said, we got the car in the shop. Go over the fixes or the non-fixes that we did last time it was in here. Go over that and go over a few other things that I'm trying to figure out on this car. Probably go through the nitrous stuff and see exactly how that's hooked up to see if I can possibly get that working. I do have a brand new third member that we're going to go through today and check out to make sure that it's all assembled correctly. Not sure if I want to put it in the car this time or not, but we're going to go through that. And I found something on the trailer that we're going to have to fix as well before the next race. So let's get into all this fun stuff and get this work done today. As far as what worked and what didn't work from the last fixes. So we changed the carb spacer, hoping that would eliminate the hesitation off the line. That did not work. I still have the hesitation. It's still acting the exact same way. So that did not fix it. I've done some more video watching and some more Googling, and it basically, from what I can tell, it basically comes down to the accelerator pump is the one thing everybody seems to be pointing towards. I did replace both of these on this car before I started racing because they were both leaking. So it's probably in the cam or the accelerator pump adjustment. So we're going to be taking a look at that today. The fuel pressure issue that we were having as far as it losing pressure right off the line, that is fixed. So the high PSI fuel pump was able to keep up with it, so that's what I needed. So I just bought the wrong pump originally, so that's fixed. So the PSI on the fuel stayed the same all the way down the track from the time I let go of the button all the way down, so that's solved. So yeah, one problem down, one more to go. So I'll take that as a win, even though I'm still chasing a problem, but at least I'm knocking the problems down. All right, so as far as the nitrous wiring, we got to clean up all these grounds because they're not really grounded anywhere. I got to chase these wires up through the dash to figure out where they are actually hooked up to. I know the fuel pump works because I turned it on last time it was in here just to run it. So it works, but we got to put a fuel filter down there because it doesn't have a filter on this tank. The accelerator pump adjustments, we got one there and one there. We're going to take a look at those. And I know this probably isn't like the only thing it could be, but there's a lot of people that basically say that this is a good place to start. I know it's got a lot to do with timing, but timing this thing is a lot harder because there's no timing marks on the harmonic balancer and there's no indicator. So I'm going to have to do a lot more figuring there. So for now, this is what we're going to try to get with. I did find out over the last couple weeks that the motor that was in this car, that I was told was in this car, is not actually what I have. When I bought the car, I was told that the car had a 434 with a 488 gear. We found out last time that I do not have a 488 gear. I actually have a 411 gear. And I talked to the guy that was supposedly had built this motor for this car for the original owner and was told that it is a 383. So basically everything I've been told about this car was a lie. I'm not sure why. Either the guy knew and wanted to say what it was to try to sell it easier or better, or he just didn't know himself and that's what he was told. So I just have to basically deal with what I've got at this point. So we have basically a 383 nitrous motor in this car, and that's why I'm changing rear gears to a little bit taller gear. And now that I know what kind of motor I have, I kind of know what horsepower I've got. I also know that I have a 950 carburetor on this thing, which is way more than what this motor needs, but it's probably on there because of the nitrous that the guy was running in it, because I think it's like 150 or 200 shot of nitrous. We're going to find that out today. I try to anyway. So that's probably why the 950 is on there, is just because of the extra fuel and everything that the nitrous is putting in. So that could be the reason of my hesitation, since I'm not running nitrous. So like I said, there's lots of variables, but we're just going to keep basically going down the list, and sooner or later we're going to get this figured out, and this car is going to quit hesitating. So off to getting this all figured out. When I told you last race, we were heading to the race, and I had some truck problems and all that stuff. So when I got back home and unhooked the trailer, this is what so apparently in between all of it, I drug the stupid cord on the ground and it chewed up my trailer cable. So we're going to have to replace that. I know it has nothing to do with the race car, but we are going to have to fix it to get the race car back to the race in a couple of weeks. So that's on the agenda for today. So we're going to have to investigate and get into that. I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to fix that yet. I'm hoping I can just buy a new cord and hook it all up. But if it's a long cord and it goes all the way back, I'm going to have to figure out how to splice it. So like I said, nothing to do with the race car, but it has everything to do with getting the race car to the race. So we're going to look into that. So it looks like we're going to get lucky. So that cable basically coils up, goes into the brake box. I'm assuming this is a brake box, and it's basically all tied together right here. So it looks like all I'm going to have to do is order a new cable, and then I can just basically splice it all right in to this box, and we'll be good as new. So that's step one, I guess, knocked off the list. I'll just have to find a new 7-pin cable to replace all of this, and we'll be good to go. Okay, so I got the new plug put on. This one is not all chewed up, so this is now done. So mark that off the list. Alright, so before I started messing with anything, I wanted to confirm that I actually had even spray out of the nozzles for the accelerator pump. And when I hit the throttle, I noticed that I only had fuel coming out of these sets of pumps. Now I did replace the accelerator pump here because it was leaking. I did not replace this one. And if you watch, I'll push the accelerator pump and nothing is happening. So I'm thinking that I'm kind of hoping that I found my problem, and this accelerator pump on this bowl is bad, and that's actually what's causing my problem, because I'm only squirting out of one side. So we're going to drain the fuel out of here, pull this bowl off, and replace this accelerator pump and see if that fixes it. Alright, and like everything else, excuse the mess on my workstation here. So I pulled the bowl off, and there's all kinds of staining on the bowl and the cap. I did find the diaphragm, and this thing is hard as a damn rock. Not working like it's supposed to. Here is the new one, nice and flimsy the way it's supposed to. So we're going to put the new diaphragm in, and hopefully that should solve all my problems as far as it leaking and as far as it not working. So we're going to get that put in and get it back on the car. Alright, so we got the fuel bowl back on, and now I squirt out of all four like it's supposed to, and we're good to go. So that took care of that issue. So I don't know if that's going to fix the hesitation or not, but that's the fix that we're going to go try this time out. and see if that helped. If that didn't, then maybe we'll try something different, but that's what we're going to go with this fix in this go around. Alright, so as my luck would have it, when I went to put the fuel bowl back on the front of the carburetor, found another bolt that was stripped. So I don't know if you can see it, but that bolt hole down there has no threads left in it. So we are going to have to drill that bolt hole out now and retap it and put an insert in it. So that's what we're going to do next. Alright, so the hole is drilled and tapped and the new helicoil is put in. Like I said, I doubt you can see it real well, but now it has threads in it. So now we'll put the fuel bowl back on and we'll be done with this. Alright, so the fuel bowl is back on again, and this time no surprises, everything tightened up good. So I shouldn't have to take this off again. We all know that the accelerator pump works now, so all I got left to do up here as far as anything is extend all my ground wires down to a real ground, and then we'll have this front end all wrapped up. Alright, so instead of cutting and splicing all these ground wires for all these components, I just built a ground jumper wire to go from that terminal to this terminal and then down to the ground for the head, because that grounds all my other stuff over there as far as the water pump and the fan. So now all the nitrous solenoids are grounded properly, I believe. So now I just got to figure out the rest of this stuff, see if it's actually hooked up and plumbed right, wired right, and then I can make sure the nitrous works before I plug it all up and go to the track and put some fire to it. So on to the next thing. Okay, so this is basically my nitrous system simplified, if you want to call it that. It took me forever to trace down all these wires, and I think I got it drawn right, but I'm not 100% sure. So I know this is my nitrous solenoid, this is my purge valve, that's my fuel solenoid. I'm thinking this is maybe a pressure switch because it goes to the nitrous to where it won't kick this solenoid on unless I have fuel pressure. That's what I'm assuming it is, but I have no idea what this is. Like I said, I'm just assuming it's a pressure switch. So like I said, I traced down all these wires, ran them through the firewall, down to the fuel pump, which is down under there, up underneath the dash, and all my wiring nightmare I have under here. And to all my switches. So I know most nitrous systems have two switches. You have the fuel pump and then like a nitrous switch. Looks like everything's plumbed through here and then plumbed into the purge button to purge everything. So it looks like I only have one switch to operate everything. So basically when I turn this switch on, it activates everything. All the solenoids, the fuel pump, the purge valve, and everything else, because the switch goes down to the 6AL box, which basically goes to this relay, and then I'm assuming it turns everything on. So I'm going to have to talk to somebody a lot smarter than I am to see if this is actually hooked up right and see if everything works. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to disconnect the fuel pump, because as soon as I flip the switch on, it activates the fuel pump. So I'm going to disconnect that, and then with the power on, I'm going to see if I can hear my purge valve clicking, which will tell me that I actually have power going to everything. But yeah, this is for a way later date. I just basically wanted to get this down on paper, get it to somebody that knows what the hell they're doing, to see if I actually have this hooked up right, and see if I applied fuel and nitrous to it and actually turn the switch on, if everything would work and not hurt my motor. Next, I'm going to disconnect the fuel and the nitrous line back here to see what jet sizes I have. That'll be, and then write those down to see if my jets are the right size, and then that'll actually tell me what's the kind of shot of nitrous I'm running. So that's actually the next step that I'm getting ready to do. All right, so I disconnected the fuel pump from the power switch, so that wouldn't be making noise while I tried to troubleshoot the solenoids and the purge valve. And so I turned the power on, flipped the switch to the nitrous and the fuel and all that stuff, and hit the purge solenoid, and I heard the solenoid actuate. So I'm pretty sure everything's hooked up right, and I know at least the purge solenoid works. So like I said, I'm still going to dig into it a little bit more, and I know I have to hook up a switch to either the throttle on the carburetor or on the gas pedal, or some kind of activation switch to activate it. I did find that out today. So, but as far as everything to do with the nitrous today, I'm done looking into that. I just got to get educated more on how all that stuff works. So we're going to move on to the next thing. Made the decision. I am going to change out the gears since I got it done. So we got to remove the tires. Basically, same thing we did in that video a couple videos ago, where I took the axles out to check the splines. That's what we're going to do. So it's already up on jack stands. It's all ready to go. So I just got to climb underneath of it, take the drive shaft off the yoke. We'll pull the tires, pull the brake calipers, rotors, axles off, and then the fun part of me getting under the car and pulling the old third member out to get the new third member in with the new gears. So that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to spare you all the details. So I will be back when I am ready to pull the third member out of the car, and we'll go from there. All right, so see you in a minute. All right, so you can see I got the drive shaft disconnected back there, and I've got one axle out. So you can see now I got to go to the other side and get that started and get that off, and then we'll be back to pull the third member out. So I'll be back in a minute. All right, so here's the other side off. So we are ready to climb under here and start tearing this third member out of here to get this gear change done. So I will be back when I got the third member out. All right, so I got all the bolts out and got a screwdriver in there, draining the fluid slowly. So once the fluid gets out, then I will pull this third member out and get the housing cleaned out and start prepping to get the new one installed. So we'll be back in a minute. All right, well, that wasn't fun, but we got it out. So here is the third member I just pulled out, and we got a bunch of cleaning up to do in here. We got all that silicone we got to get off. So once I get that done, we'll be back to start putting the new third member back in place. All right, so here's the rear end in the car. I've got all the gasket RTV off. There was no gasket on this, so they just RTV'd it on. I have a gasket that I'm going to put on it. So I'm going to give this one more dry wipe, and then I'm going to start putting RTV on and get the seal up in there, and then try to get this rear end up in here without making too much of a mess. It was kind of a pain to get in with this bar in the way. So I'm hoping I can get it all in there without taking that bar up. I figured I got it out, I can get the new one back in. So that's the next step. So hopefully when we come back, I will have the new third member back up in this hole. So we'll be back. All right, so the third member is in. So it is not torqued, it is not tight. I don't know if this is the right way or not, but this is the way I do it. So what I do is I put RTV on both sides of the seal, and then I tighten the nuts down so right as it starts oozing out, if you can see it just started oozing out. So what I do is I let that dry for a few hours in the heat, which, you know, it's like 100 and something degrees in the shop today, so it won't take too long. So I'm gonna let this sit for 2-3 hours or so, and then I'm going to come back out and tighten it up the rest of the way, and then I can finish it. I also have to modify that brake bracket right there because it will not fit on this housing the way it is. So I'm gonna have to modify that to fit this third member housing. So once I get all that done and get it tightened, I will put new lube in it and then put it all back together, and then I got to run it for 15-20 minutes to break in the gears. So I will be back in a few hours and we can get this thing buttoned up. Okay, so I got involved in something yesterday and ended up putting it off till today. So today's Sunday. I did get everything final torqued. I'm still going to go around it a couple more times just to make sure, but the rear end is in. As you can see, I still got to modify that bracket to fit on one of these upper 3 bolts. I'm going to put the rear end or the axles back in before I get too crazy with that, just to see where everything falls. But yeah, it's all in. Got to still hook up the yoke, but I'm going to go ahead and put the other passenger side drive shaft in and get all that side put back together, and then figure out what I'm going to do with that bracket. But yeah, still got fluid I got to put in it, but we're getting closer, so I'll be back when I get that other side done and we'll go from there. So as you can see, the passenger side is all put back together, everything's torqued, so I'm going to put the wheel on and then move to the other side. So we'll be back in a second. Okay, driver's side is done, hooked back up. I got the bracket hooked up to one of the other bolts, so it's done. Drive shaft is hooked up. So I'm gonna do one more torque around the third member after I put this tire on, and then we will fill it full of fluid and do our break-in procedure. So I'll be back in a minute. Alright, so I got the other tire on and I got the rear end full of fluid. So now I'm ready to crank this thing up and give it its break-in run. So once that's done, I will be back. Alright, so I got everything put back together. Like I said, got rear end topped off. I started the car. I let it go in drive for 15-20 minutes. It took me twice because I had to shut the car off, let it cool down. But followed the directions and it should be broke in. I'll probably do it one more time next week, maybe twice before I go to the race. But that's going to do it for this time in the garage. Next week we got another race, so that's what we're going to be at next weekend. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching this video. Hope everybody took away a little bit of something anyway. So if you haven't subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. If you like the video, please hit that thumbs up. Pass it along to friends, family. It always helps get the channel out there. So I guess we will see you next weekend at the race. So see you later.